I love I love campaign season. It's probably my favorite part of the year. It's my favorite part of my job because I get to talk to all of you, help you plan these events, and then help you spread the word about United Way to your colleagues. I'm going to go ahead and turn my video off now so that I can have both screens up. But if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat box or just take yourself off mute. All right, let's get this going here. So just a quick agenda for this morning. So we're going to just run through the same webinar logistics and housekeeping that we have been. Go over a quick agenda, the general best practices, the online platform deep dive. So we're going to go through all of those platforms that we have available to you and some special event ideas and how to do them virtually. And then we have a guest joining us, Keeping It Legal with Judy Jordan. She is just fabulous. She'll talk to you about all the legality of special events, and then we'll close it out with a Q&A. So just some quick housekeeping. As we've been saying in all of these sessions, all 6 sessions are hosted on the same Microsoft Teams link to make it easy to find each session. You're welcome to turn your video on if you feel comfortable, but please keep your audio muted unless you have a question. We can mute you if you forget, but we cannot unmute you if you forget to take yourself off mute. Please feel free to use the chat box to ask questions, comment, share experiences. We have someone monitoring the chat box throughout so nothing gets missed. I will also be using the chat box to provide a few links for some of the content. Each of the sessions will include some live polls to prompt discussion around current experiences, and we'll provide some direction when those polls come up. And there will be time at the end for some group discussion and questions, but if you do have any questions throughout the session, please don't hesitate to ask. So just some quick goals for the session, just so that we kind of ground ourselves in what we're doing today. I'm going to provide some resources and best practices for facilitating virtual events. We want to talk about the legality of certain events, both in person and virtual. And we are going to provide an opportunity to brainstorm ideas for special events and hear and learn from the others in this session. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Martha to talk about a few best practices for these special events.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. There's a lot of great resources and tools here, and we hope that you find this session very helpful. When leveraging the best practices for special events, we absolutely took into consideration the virtual environment, and that's why we feel that this is such an important segment to the training experiences. But we really encourage you to leverage the knowledge and experience of the people on your committee so that one person, as you all know, doesn't do all the work themselves. It's especially important if you can bring people in from different areas within the departments, such as marketing and IT, to help with the platform situations and being new to this virtual space, and depending upon the platforms you engage in to help some of your special event activity. Having that IT expertise is exceptional. Set your goals, and this year we're finding goals, are going to be varied, of course, as they are every year, but we're also finding that engagement goals are something that our corporate partners are looking at very strongly, because again, in this time of virtual work experiences, engaging employees and bringing them into a community environment is really something that they're striving to be able to do. So as you look at your goals, again, keep in mind fundraising or engagement, however it works best for your culture, but also to make them attainable. There's a lot to consider this year when you set what those goals are going to look like for your campaign. Obviously, start planning early and thoroughly, and also it's really important to add extra time in making the various requests, particularly in situations where you're using an online platform, because again, we're following a kind of a new landscape here, and you want to allow extra time for yourself and also those that you're engaging to complete the requests that are being asked. When you're looking at the types of events and things that you may want to engage in, you want to really consider, is this something that a lot of people are going to want to participate in? Is it accessible to everyone? How and what would you communicate, and what communication channels do you have in order to promote it? Sending several reminders might be very important, again, because you're doing it virtually. It's not going to be as front and center with some of the visuals that you may have had in previous experiences. And then to make the determination of what technology do you actually need to facilitate registration, payment, or the event itself. There are streaming platforms that you can use, Facebook, YouTube, etc. But again, keep those into consideration as you can make determinations on what type of events or special experiences that you want to create. Also, something to consider is who's going to be responsible for the different aspects of the events. That's where your committee can be very helpful. That's where, again, also having expertise like individuals from IT or marketing can help with the communication and options as well. And again, what options we'll have for payment processing. And this is where you're going to find out through this presentation and through other conversations that we're really here to help you. This is where we want you to lean on us as the United Way to help you with all of this process. Your campaign manager, your relationship manager, we're all here to ensure that this experience is as successful for you as is entirely possible. And Megan's now going to step into the spaces of what we have available to support the virtual elements of your special event activities.
Thank you, Martha. So if you were in our second session yesterday, this slide probably will look familiar to you. We understand that there are so many options for giving platforms, and we want to find the ones that work for you. So when we were looking at slides, we were looking at the ease, looking at the technology, we're looking at ease of use for both admin and user, the functionalities, the reporting abilities, and of course the cost, which is why we've decided to make each of these 4 platforms free to you. So the first one, again, if you were in our previous session, Salesforce Philanthropy Cloud, it manages your whole campaign with donations, volunteerism, stories, and special events. It moves beyond the campaign to support that year-round engagement. And if you were not able to join us this morning, the recording of today's sessions will be available after these sessions are over, and we'll also have those slides available to you. The next one is Mobile Cause, and this is one of the ones that we'll dive in a little bit deeper on today. It creates fundraisers with customized payment collection. It's very mobile friendly. It also has a text to donate function. And we'll go into that in a little bit here. The GoFundMe charity, so it offers peer-to-peer fundraising system that allows for payment collection and customization. If you worked with us last year, you might have done something on CrowdRise. GoFundMe actually purchased CrowdRise, and so we're just continuing that relationship with GoFundMe. And then the final one is 32 auctions. So this is one that might be familiar to some of you. It hosts online bidding that allows you to add items with a picture and description. It's very contained, very user-friendly. I've personally used it in different aspects of other nonprofit service that I've done. And I look forward to talking a little bit more about how we can bring that to your campaigns this year. So we'll dive right into Mobile Cause. How many of you have participated or used a text to donate campaign? Feel free to raise your virtual hand. There's a little hand by on the bar for Teams. Phyllis raised her hand. Anyone else? Has anyone else used like a text to donate? You see them on commercials sometimes. Not very many of you. Okay. Well, text to donate campaigns can be a really easy way to engage employees and encourage them to give this year. So it's very simple. You'll be texting a keyword to a number, a 5-digit number. So in this case, it was United Way 20 to 40403. And the immediate text response comes back, thank you for supporting United Way, and click here to complete. So when we follow that link, it brings up a page that we are able to then go through and make our donation. So very easy to use, very simple. This is a text to donate campaign that we've created this year for Xcel Energy. Able to set the parameters, the amounts that you're using, able to customize that amount, make it one-time, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and then fill in the information. We were able to customize the page to add employee ID numbers to make it easier for Xcel Energy to track their donations. And then it's actually very easy to fill out. There's multiple payment options, so Apple Pay, credit card, or PayPal. It's a very secure transaction. And there's also the opportunity to cover payment processing fees. So we know that about 70% of people, when presented with the option to cover the payment processing fees, will actually do that. And so that is one that we recommend. It doesn't seem like much, when you're looking at like a $25 donation, it's just 64 cents. However, added up across multiple donations, that does cut into the amount that is going into United Way and through us into the community. So we are also able to customize the thank you message and email receipt. So in this case, again, for Excel Energy, customizing the logos, the colors, the picture, and the message. So very customizable to your event, to your company, very easy to use. If you're not thinking of doing too much this year, this might be something that you can use to supplement some of the different types of fundraisers that you do this year. How many of you have done some kind of event, like a golf tournament or other tournament, something that you want people to be able to register or pay for, be able to track easily? Allie, anyone else? I think online registration this year is going to be the key. So, which is why we're so excited about Mobile Cause, because it can do that too. This is an example of a golf tournament registration page that we created in partnership with Eaton. Team members are able to get a link that is either emailed out or posted on their intranet. There's also a QR code that they posted around the plant site so that people can just use the QR code and go right to the registration page. Again, very customizable. We added almost all of these different questions we added at their request. We also, again, can do the text to register. So instead of text to donate, we can text to register. So in this case, they'll be texting Eaton 2020 to a 5-digit number, and it'll pull it up on their phone. Again, because with the name Mobile Cause, you'd think, it's going to be mobile friendly, and you'd be right. It is very mobile friendly. So, and just like with the text to give campaign, it has the multiple payment options. So Apple Pay, credit card, or PayPal, secure encrypted payment. Again, the ability to cover payment processing fees. And in this case, there's an additional donation option. So for their golf tournament, it's $70 to register, $12 if you want to add a cart. In several cases, we've seen people actually adding an additional donation, either to round up to $100 or adding an additional like $25 to that donation, which just is incredible to see when people are registering for things. That having that ability is really great for that fundraising aspect. Customize the button to say anything that you want, register, sign up now, submit, anything like that. So if you are interested in utilizing Mobile Cause for an event, let us know and we can get you started on that. Just contact your relationship manager. We'll send out all of our contact information and a thank you after all of these sessions are over so that you have our contact information. If you're not sure who you're working with, just let us know and we can connect you. Any questions about Mobile Cause? Anything so far? Okay. Well, let's dive into CrowdRise or GoFundMe. So GoFundMe is one that we've used as CrowdRise in past years. This is CrowdRise, a peer-to-peer fundraising event that we did for Ryan companies. So they wanted to do a run walk. They wanted to be able to create teams and fundraise for those teams. This is something that we are able to do on both GoFundMe and on Mobile Cause. So registration page is very similar to Mobile Cause, ability to fundraise for a team member. Walk runs can be done virtually. I know that seems a little bit counterintuitive, but that's one of the ones that is actually really easy to take virtual. So speaking of walks and runs, and we'll dive into these a little bit more in a little bit here, but here's an example of a walk run that was done back in April by a high school student. She put this whole thing together and had a bunch of people register to do the walk run. They chose a day for the run walk, and participants were able to go the distance in their own spaces on their own time that day. And then they submitted their results to the website. After the run, they were encouraged to upload a picture of themselves participating, creating a feeling of connection and togetherness despite running distantly. It's also something that your family can engage with, your family can be part of. It's a fun way to get out and be outside while it's still nice out, before we start hibernating this winter. So So keep that in mind as you're thinking about events. With a walk run, from a management standpoint, if you think about if you've ever done one with your company in the past, the actual logistics of the day of can be a little bit overwhelming. You know, that's a lot of things for you to do. But with a virtual one, all you have to do is set up the registration and provide a space for them to upload their results and their pictures. So the actual logistics of the virtual walk run are much less than those of an in-person one. So something to consider as you're thinking about events. Any questions? Very quiet group this morning. I've clearly had a lot of coffee, so if I talk too fast, just slow me down. Let's dive into online auctions. Online auctions are probably one of the most popular things that we're seeing right now with the virtual space. And 32 Auctions is our partner in those online auction opportunities. So with 32 Auctions, you can customize the homepage with your company colors and your logo. You can customize the About Your Auction section. This would be about United Way, your partner. You can customize the start and end dates and times. You can choose a fundraising goal and set that goal and track it in real time. You can also remove third-party ads. So third-party ads are part of this, but you can remove those for a small cost. So here's a beautiful example of a fully customized 32 auction page with our partner Marathon Petroleum. They created this page with their colors, their branding, joint logos. Everything is really customized. They have several featured items if you scroll down. So this is what your auction could look like in partnership with us. When you're looking at the items for your auction, you can see, you know, the home page of all of the items. You can just scroll through them all and see them. This is what that looks like with that main picture, the title, you know, a little bit about it, the price, starting bid, things like that. The nice thing too about 32 auctions and online auctions in general is instead of, you know, in a silent auction when you're walking around, you know, going from item to item, filling out on the paper, you know, which ones you want to bid up. It's kind of hard to track all of those, and it's kind of hard to filter through what you are interested in, what you're not interested in. So with 32 auctions, they actually provide categories, so you can categorize your items and go through and filter for items, you know, by category. Or if you're like me and you really want to make sure that you get something, regardless of what it is, you search for items with no bids, so that you can see that everything is getting bid on. Let's see, we've got something in the chat. We often do small events that associates can attend throughout the week. As we move towards virtual for these events, we're looking for ways to collect the small one-off fees. Any recommendations are welcome. So that's a great call out. So the small events that people can attend as we move virtual, mobile cause would be a really great way to collect those fees. You know, you can customize it with a drop down so that you can say, I'm registering for this thing or that thing or this other thing and pay that amount. And then we can help you keep track of all of that. So that's a great call out, great question. Any other questions? Again, feel free to take yourself off mute, put it in the chat box, anything. We'd love to hear from you guys. Okay. So if we click on one of these items, this is what that page looks like. So you can put up to 4 images of your item. You can set the value, the minimum bid, and the bid increment. You can determine exact bids versus proxy bids. So exact bids, you know, as you can probably imagine, is bidding that exact amount. Or if you don't want to watch a very popular item for every single time someone bids up, you can place a proxy bid. And that's just kind of like on eBay. You know, when you set an amount, you say, I can go up to this amount, and then the computer will actually bid it up for you up to your designated amount. You can also watch an item to be notified when someone bids it up, which is really helpful if there's something that you really, really want. So looking at the pricing, so there is a free version, but as your partner in this fundraising event, United Way will cover several upgrades. So instead of 20 items, we will cover up to 100 items. We will also increase the number of pictures that you're able to put for each item. And then we will also apply your brand. So we want to be able to customize that branding for you. If there are additional features that you're interested in, for example, if you need more than 100 items, I have a company that's doing about 300 items. They've done things in the past like that with that many items, and so they will increase theirs up to 300. Several people have also asked to remove those third-party ads, and those are just a small fee that we would add on, and then we would just invoice you for those additional costs at the conclusion of your event. So very easy to use, very easy to customize. If you're interested in doing an online auction with us, let us know and we can send you a questionnaire to fill out with all the details that we need to get your page started. We will then invite you to become an organizer or whoever on your committee you've decided you want to be part of this, to lead this segment. We'll invite them to become an organizer, and then that person will have admin capabilities to add items, to make changes, things like that. So again, very easy to use in partnership with us. If you have any questions about 32 auctions, feel free to take yourself off mute or put them in the chat box. Thank you, Martha, for answering Jed's question.
Well, and also to jump in, Megan's given an amazing overview of these two platforms. We also are open to and would be happy to do a demonstration of how they actually interface versus screenshots. So if you'd want additional information and feel that you would, it would be of value to you to see an actual demonstration of the two platforms, just reach out to your relationship manager or any of your team members here at the United Way, and we can get that scheduled.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, any other questions, comments? We've got from Pam, any ideas on how this could work for a national company with locations all around the country? That's a very good question, and actually one that has come up earlier this summer. So we have a company that has a national footprint that is doing a nationwide auction for all of their employees. And the way that they have customized it, if I just go back to here, when they put in their description, if it is a site-specific thing like tickets or events, they will put, for Minneapolis residents only or for Colorado residents only. And then just knowing that those things, those site-specific items are only for those people. People can still bid on them, but at least they get a heads up that it's not in their area. You can also determine, whether or not you're willing or able to ship larger items around the country. Depending on the items that you have, like, a 55-inch TV screen, that would be hard to ship to California or Texas. It would be very expensive. So if you're willing and able to do that, that's great. If not, just specify again for local residents only on some of those items. It's a great question. Does 32 auctions have the option for winning bids to be payroll deducted? That is a good question. They internally on 32 auctions, they do not. So they do have some payment options. We could do the self-managed payment, the online payment and donation and collection. We could do that directly through 32 auctions. It's only a credit card or PayPal opportunity. But if you wanted to do something more like, spread it out over the course of a year or monthly or weekly, something like that, what we can do is invoice the winners with their winning bid, and then send them a mobile cause link to pay for those bids. So it would not be through payroll, but it could be spread out over the course of a year, if they wanted to spread that out. That's a very good question. Any other questions about 32 auctions? These are all really great questions. No? All right. Well, let's jump into some ideas, and I'll kick this back over to Martha because there are so many ideas that have come up in our conversations with our partners over the last several months, and also in our own brainstorming on some of the most successful event ideas and how to take them virtual.
Thanks, Megan. The next 3 slides really provide a lot of ideas, as Megan said, that we've either, found through our searching process or having conversations with other members of our team and our corporate partners. The most popular at this point appear to be the silent auction, virtual walk run, and golf tournaments. There's some more traditional events. Those are events that people are familiar with. And as Megan pointed out, which I think is a really important element to this, is that some of the aspects of these events virtually take a lot of the time away from what you as managers of these events would have experienced if they were in person. So as much as the virtual aspect of this might have felt daunting initially, we're hopeful that you're seeing, because of the resources and the applications we have to support these, it's going to feel less cumbersome. Other ideas that we've become aware of: scavenger hunts, create your own, use whatever and however you wish to identify what you're asking people to look for. Some of these can be really cool because it can involve family members, because with all of us, again, or a majority of us, or several working remotely, there are fun ways in which to engage others that are in your home. Megan, if you want to pop to the next one, please. Talent competition, online cooking show. That was something that seemed to really gain some interest and traction. You would host that through, a virtual team meeting experience, and then, you could have people register to participate in the cooking demonstration. Video conferencing dress-up days, online Office Olympics. We used to do Office Olympics, obviously, in person, but there could be some activities that you can engage with your employee base to do them remotely. Megan, if you want to grab the next slide, that'd be awesome. And who is it? Picture contest. We did that internally here at the United Way, and that was really fun because people would upload pictures of themselves either as, babies, young adults, or in a situation in which you normally wouldn't see a fellow employee, and then you would guess who it is, and you could have, fun competitions as, how you wanted to lay that out, who got the most, who was the most unique, all those different types of things. Virtual cook-offs, I know chili cook-offs and baked good experiences are really popular in person, but you could take it virtually and have people submit their favorite recipes. Team members can cook the recipe at home and then vote for their or their family's favorite. Again, that's an opportunity to engage a broader community in the event. One of our partners, when we had a meeting with them a couple of weeks ago, talked about how their pancake breakfast cook-off is a really important element to their campaign. And one of our CRs came up with a really neat idea as how to take that virtually and turn it into, some type of a contest in essence of, who can create the craziest shape of their pancake, sharing favorite pancake recipes, ways to do it in which you're engaging from a conceptual standpoint, but you're putting a spin on it so that it is available to be done, but you're still recognizing the importance and the history of the event itself. Blue ribbon contest, partner with a local business. They host a giving day or a week where a percentage of their profits go towards your event, those types of activities. So again, there are just a number of really great ideas, and these are just a snapshot of the things that we've become aware of. But again, take a look at your community, the typical experiences that you've done in the past, ways in which you can potentially take them virtually. As much as we do suggest that, we also don't want and encourage you to not get, and I use the word stuck only because, again, there are things that we know have been really successful in the corporate environment, and not everything can be taken virtually. I would hope the vast majority can be, with some brainstorming and thought process around how to do that, but also to recognize that if it can't, that's okay. This is a very unique year. There are lots of elements in which to have to take into consideration. And, our hope and expectation would be is that your employee population would be very understanding of that. And maybe this is the time to bring in something different and unique and see where that lands in your special event activities.
Great. Thank you so much. I hope that some of these ideas are inspiring for you. We tried to put a little example with each one on how they can be done virtually. And now I'd actually like for you guys to collaborate with us. So I'm asking you to go to pull up the website pollev.com/GTCUW campaigns. Someone wants to pop that link in the chat box so people can access it. And I'd ask you to answer this question. So if you can pull it up on your phone or on a web browser, what kind of fundraising events have been the most successful for you in your campaigns? Before 2020, before everything blew up, what were some of the most successful events that you guys have done? And Pam asks the question, is there a fundraising aspect to these events or just for awareness? That's a great question, Pam. There can be a fundraising component to these. So if you'd like to, pay $5 to register, or, sign up, register with a payment on Mobile Cause to attend these events, that can be a fundraising aspect. We do encourage you to not make everything a fundraiser, just because there might be people who want to participate who might not have the ability this year, for whatever reason. If, they are experiencing some challenges, either health-wise or their spouse has been laid off. We don't know all of those situations and those circumstances. So creating some events that are just engagement might be a good way to include more people. Thank you, McKenna, for putting that link in there. So silent auctions, bake sales, contests, raffles, games, pancake breakfast. The pancake breakfast really is a big one. Before I came to United Way, I didn't realize how big pancake breakfasts were. I know Martha was mentioning turning a pancake breakfast into, sharing your recipes. And I was thinking to myself, well, I just use the box. Does that count? So, anyone else just use the box mix?
Absolutely. I use the box mix, and that's where, if I were to participate in something like that, I'd have to go for the most unique shape or largest pancake or something in that regard, because the recipe would not be anything special.
There you go. I've seen like videos on YouTube of people that create the most amazing shapes, like with colored batter. It's just it's an art form. I would not win that contest for sure. Oh, cornhole. I love cornhole. Can tell you're from Minnesota when you call it cornhole. Paying a certain amount to wear jeans to work, pay a certain amount for lunch that is provided, triathlon games, bake sales, the staff re-gift raffle. I like that. Does someone want to share a little bit about what that looks like? Wine or wine. Ooh, I like that. See, this is the fun part, where we get to see, the different things that people have been successful with in their previous years, previous campaigns. Bowling tournament. So escape rooms, that's also a really good one. So as you can see with some of these, some of these might not be able to go virtual. Like I can't imagine a virtual bowling tournament. They do make online games. It's not nearly as fun, but there's online bowling. The escape rooms, again, that's kind of an in-person event. So who put down wine or wine? If If you could take yourself off mute and share a little bit of what that means, I think that's a curiosity. Or if you're shy, you can also put it in the chat. No? Must be shy. All right. Well, I have one more question for you. What kind of events, so looking at those past events, what kind of events are you most excited to try virtually this year? So, we know which ones have worked for us in the past. What are some of the things, either from the list that we shared or from some of the ideas that came up just now? What are some events that you're most excited to try virtually this year? Scavenger hunt. That's a good one. Yeah. The staff free gift does sound like fun. That's something like a white elephant gift around Christmas time. I have so many things that I could regift very happily. Ooh, dog photo contest.
Hi, Megan. It's Lisa. I just put in the chat. We did that in Eden Prairie Schools, the regift raffle. We tried to come up with a way that everyone could get involved with no cost at all. So we simply had people bring in things from their closet, maybe a wedding gift they'd never used, something their mother-in-law gave them. And it was incredibly popular because they were all brand new, wonderful items. Either the color didn't work for them but just incredible items. And it was a way to participate, yet zero cost. So it was really, really popular.
Very cool. I have a set of cheese knives that are shaped like snowmen that I could contribute to that. The Nailed It baking contest. Is that like the show Nailed It? Or I think that actually sounds like a lot of fun. So with the Nailed It baking contest, do you nail it by not nailing it? Is that how you win? I'm not sure how that works. Anyone want to share? Yes. Okay. I've seen some very entertaining and a little bit terrifying baking creations on the internet. So I think that Nailed It is a really fun one. Very cool. These are some really great ideas. We'll share these out when we share out the slides. We'll share out all of these ideas that people have brought to the table because these are some fabulous, fabulous ideas. One more event-based thing before we turn it over to my colleague Judy to talk about special events legality. Raise your virtual hand if you have done a leadership event in the past. Got a few people, whether it's a breakfast or, some kind of event where people get together that's kind of exclusive, depends on, if you give over a certain amount. Great. So before 2020, that exclusive in-person event, often a breakfast or a happy hour with leadership or United Way impact speakers, sometimes including things like a silent auction or other live in-person contained fundraising. They've been so popular. And this year, the one of the biggest questions that I've personally gotten from some of our partners is, how do we make that leadership event special if it's just another web meeting? And that's a really great question. So hosting a virtual event on a web-based platform like Zoom or WebEx or Teams, using a mobile cause text to donate function to register for it, doing a live stream event. Consider hiring a professional MC if you have budget, if you've used budget to, secure a venue, things like that. Maybe consider changing that budget over to hiring a professional MC because they have that ability to keep that energy level up and really make it feel a little bit more dynamic and seamless. Incorporating video recorded or live streamed messages from a variety of people like senior leadership at your company, United Way impact speakers, or community nonprofit leaders. One of the other really fun aspects of these leadership events is the food component. If it's a breakfast or a lunch, that is still possible to do virtually. So using something like Grubhub or DoorDash or Uber Eats, provide an order link to attendees the week before. Attendees can choose that restaurant and the food item, and the company picks up the tab, but the food gets delivered to everyone at the same time. So it still feels like you're together having a meal, but obviously you're in your own homes or wherever you are located. So we did this actually successfully with a department meeting earlier in the summer. And it felt so nice to just sit down with people, to have a free meal, to sit down and on a Zoom call with everyone and really be able to just share and make it feel more casual and connected. So that's a fun component of this virtual leadership event. The last one too is offering door prizes for virtual attendees to incentivize attendance. So, if you attend the meeting, then you get entered into a drawing for like a Yeti cooler or something like that. Or if it's, your company's swag. That can also, not just for leadership events, that can also be a really fun incentive for people that are attending, your campaign kickoff or other events, things like that. And then engage in fun activities, do trivia, or have a preview of the online auction items, again, to make that event feel a little bit more exclusive. Any questions about leadership events and things like that? Well, if you do have questions or if you want to talk more, feel free to reach out to us anytime. Reach out to your relationship manager, and we're happy to talk through some logistics with you. And now I would like to introduce my colleague, Judy Jordan. She's our Vice President of Information Technology and Analytics at Greater Twin Cities United Way. And she's going to talk us through some of the legality of some of the special events that we're doing, especially as we transition to a virtual setting.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you this morning. It looks like a really good group. So as Megan mentioned, what we're really going to do is talk through some common legal considerations that come up when you are conducting special events or initiative programs. I'm pretty informal, so as I'm going through this, if any questions pop into your mind, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or raise your hand, or put it in the chat, and we can answer them right on the spot, or we'll have some time at the end too if you want to save your questions for the end. So this first slide that we have here basically shows us a letter that we call our special events letter. And what this is really explaining to you that if your organization is holding a special event or an initiative program as part of your giving campaign, you are acting as Greater Twin Cities United Way's agent for that event, which basically means you are acting on our behalf. So you can issue tax receipts to folks that make donations. That's really kind of the key element. And this document, when you receive this from your relationship manager, has 4 templates at the end of the document that are basically tax receipt templates. And they cover different situations. This is an example of one. So there is a template for a donor who purchases something valued at $75 or less. There's one for someone who purchases something for $75 or more. There's also one if you have, for example, a golf tournament and someone donates items, a vendor, there's a template for that. And there's also just a general one for folks who donate items where you can track basically the value of that item that they have donated. The thing to remember in that situation, though, if someone donates something, it is up to that donor to tell us how much it's worth. So you don't have to make that assumption on your own. The donor will actually fill that part in. But those templates are there for you to use anytime you need them. And if you have any questions about which one you would use or anything at all, please feel free to reach out to us, because we're real happy to walk you through any questions that you have whenever you have them.
And your campaign relationship manager will be able to provide that letter and the tax receipts for you upon request. So, we can provide that to you. There's a lot of other information in that letter, including things like, the value of a donated use of a cabin or automobile or property is not tax deductible. If the value of an item is greater than $600, that donor should receive a 1099 form. Things like that I was never really aware of before, but they're all included in that letter. So if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, as Judy said.
It looks like maybe, Brenda, do you have your hand up? Sometimes I do that by mistake when I don't actually intend to have my hand up, but just wanted to make sure we weren't missing anybody.
Yeah.
All right. So, if we move on to be honest with you, the more fun part of this, which is the actual events themselves, here, what we're basically going to go through is some really specific things to keep in mind. So when we hold special events as part of a giving campaign, we are bound by the laws around gambling. So the Gambling Control Board here in Minnesota has really specific rules and guidelines around what is considered gambling and what is legal. So what we're going to go through now is the 3 elements that are in place when something is technically considered gambling. So one element is consideration, and what that means is if you are requiring someone to pay a fee. So if you say we're going to sell you this chance for $5, or if they just have to give you something of value in order to participate. So if you think about, like, sometimes when someone has a sweepstakes, and there's something someone needs to do to enter that. So either they need to buy something, or they need to provide their email address or something. That is giving something of value to participate. So that's consideration. That's the first element that you would have to see. The second element is the element of chance. And that, is pretty self-explanatory, right? It basically just means the person doesn't have to use any sort of skill to win. So the odds that, that they win something, it's just primarily luck, right? It's just if they're having a good day. So that's chance. That's the second element of consideration. And then the third element of consideration is basically the opportunity to win something of value. So it's the opportunity to win a prize. So, if you think about NPR, where they have their drives every year, and if you donate at a certain time of the day, you might get a mug or a T-shirt or something that's kind of cool. Those things are really not of high enough value to be considered a prize. Every year, that amount that a prize needs to be valued at, it goes up a little bit. The IRS just kind of stays on top of that and gives us new requirements every year, but it's around $100. So if people have the opportunity to win something of significant value, in this case, that's considered a prize. So if you have all 3 of these elements in your special event, technically that would be considered gambling and it wouldn't be legal. So the way you get around that is you just remove one of these 3 elements. And if one of these 3 things is gone, then you're fine and you have nothing to worry about. Gambling Control Board is not going to come after you. Well, the Gambling Control Board really is probably never going to come after you anyway. But we do like to keep things legal. So that's how that works. And so, for example, if you want to play a game of bingo, what you would do is either take out the prize element, or one of these other considerations. You have them play for free, that sort of thing. So if you're ever thinking about a special event and you're concerned that it might be considered gambling, and you want to think that through or come up with some other alternatives that keep it legal, again, you can reach out to any of your relationship managers, or you can ask me. We're always available to help you think that through, because these questions come up quite a bit.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So there is now we're going to go through a list of a whole bunch of things that you can do that are legal, and I'll give you some reasoning as to why that these things work. And then at the very end, I'm going to go through just a short list of things that technically, because they have all elements of those three things, those would be illegal. But we'll start with the stuff that's fun and legal to do. So I'm not sure what order we have it on our slide here. So oh, there we go. Okay, so we have door prizes, which is totally legal to do, and the reason why, right, the door prizes and virtual door prizes are okay is because you know, everybody basically is eligible to win that. So there's no like element of consideration there. Then there's also drawings. So, you know, if you just decide to put the name of every single person in your organization that has participated in some way, so it doesn't have to just be pledging, but, you know, they've participated in an event, or they've come to, you know, they've sat at a virtual meeting, or, you know, whatever it is. If that entry is tied to some element of participation, then you're totally fine. If you do tie the drawing to giving a specific dollar amount, the thing to just keep in mind there is that for that donor, they don't really have that ability to deduct that gift on their taxes anymore. That element goes away. And as you have talked about earlier, you know, the silent and live auctions, those are really popular. Totally fine to do that. The reason why, again, those are okay is because there's no element of chance there. So totally fine to do that. Games of skill are fine. You know, if there's something that you want someone to make a guess at, and there's some sort of element of, you know, they have to use their mind to kind of think it through and they come up with a guess, that's totally fine. So games of skill are great. Again, that element of chance is not there. You can't, like, I'm guessing that this would not surprise you, but, you know, we don't really want any game of skill that's tied to the outcome of a sporting event. That's technically not legal, but I don't think you would be surprised by that one. And then if you do decide to have events that have alcohol, you know, if you want a wine tasting or a beer tasting or something like that, if you do have an in-person event, what we always recommend to folks in those situations is you really want to avoid any sort of liability that might arise from that if someone drinks alcohol and has some sort of an incident. So the best case there is really always to work with a licensed vendor who has a license to serve alcohol, because they basically assume that risk, and then it's not on you.
Or if you do a wine or beer tasting virtually, then you know, people are just using what they have on hand at home, and that's kind of absolves you from any legal ramifications. Is that right, Judy?
That's right. That is right. You
Excellent.
wouldn't reach out to them and have them sign any sort of form or anything like that. That would be just fine. Yep.
Well, good. That sounds like a popular one. I'd like to do that.
Yeah, I won't give you too much detail, but yeah, I've been doing that myself a little bit. All right. So here we're going to go through a few more specific things. Okay, so this is a little bit confusing. You know, just a moment ago when I talked you through the three elements of gambling and how that would be illegal, there is, as there always is in the law, there is an exception, right, to this. So there is a situation when you're doing this as part of an online giving campaign, where you can have a raffle, you can have like a virtual raffle. It's kind of tricky, where it's really okay to do. And the reason it's okay is that the Gambling Control Board and the state legislature have come up with a, basically, they've absolved us from responsibility if we're tying this raffle to an online or a giving campaign that is sanctioned. So basically, what you need to keep in mind if you want to do a raffle is it can only be offered to employees, current employees, folks that have retired, or people, you know, right within your organization. You can't open it up to like the general public. And all costs of the raffle, all the prizes, anything that that it costs to actually put the raffle on, have to be borne by the company or vendors who are making donations, or even employees that want to donate. That's fine too. But you can't actually take any money that people spend on a raffle ticket and use that to buy prizes. So like all of the proceeds of the raffle would have to go directly to the organization that you're raising the funds for. The trick here, though, is that online raffles are not legal in Minnesota. So in this environment where we are right now, with the pandemic, this is tricky because your raffles really have to be in person. I'm curious to see, a year from now, into the future, if the legislature makes any sort of a effort to change that. But right now, online raffles are not okay. And I believe the reason for that is it's just too easy for folks outside of your organization to find out about that and participate. So they're not legal yet in Minnesota.
Judy, is there a way that you can get around that, either by providing a free option to register for the raffle or something like that? Is that enough to remove one of those elements of gambling?
It's interesting with raffles. It's not. There is no way to really get around that online raffle piece because the rules are so stringent. But sweepstakes have an opportunity where you eliminate one of the elements of gambling if you give them a free way to enter. So like, for example, we just had Action Day and we had a big sweepstakes in connection to that. And the way that we were able to get around not really get around the legality because it was legal. The reason we could do it is that we offered the option for folks to participate just by sending in a card with their name on it and their email. So they didn't have to purchase backpacks. They didn't have to volunteer to pack backpacks. They could just send us a card in the mail. And they have every chance of winning, just like a person that has to provide consideration to enter a sweepstakes. So a sweepstakes is kind of a great situation where you can get around it, but raffles right now are just they're really sticky and they're very stringent.
Thank you. I know that sometimes people use raffles and sweepstakes, use those words interchangeably, and so it's good to hear what the exact differences are and the legality between them.
Yeah, you definitely want to use the word sweepstakes or contest. You definitely don't want to use the word raffle if it's online.
Okay. Well, I know we're almost out of time here, so we'll put up these other pieces that are not permitted just so that you can see them. Is there anything in here that you'd like to call out, Judy?
Nope. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Right. As I said, if you have any questions about any of this information, feel free to email me, call me anytime, and I'm happy to help.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I know we are about at time. Does anybody have any final questions? Any thoughts? Was this session helpful for some of you as you're considering what events to put together for this year, how to do them? Good. Seeing some yeses in the chat box. Thank you so much. I'm glad that this was helpful. If you do have any questions, if you want to go over any part of that, whether it's the online platforms and special event ideas, legality, just reach out to us. We'll send a follow-up email after the final session today with all of our contact information so that if you don't know who you're supposed to be in touch with at United Way, we will make sure to connect with you. So stay tuned. In about half an hour, we'll come back and we'll do virtual volunteerism to close out our webinar series. So we'll stop briefly for a short lunch break here and then resume at noon. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Great, thanks so much, Megan, really appreciate it. I'll be back here in a couple minutes if you have any questions during the half hour. I'm happy to answer any as you need.